I hear that even when you are on holiday, you would always bring something on China to read. So since when did you develop such a strong interest about China?
I think my first interest was really because of a professor I had at UBC in Vancouver. He was a professor of development economics, and it was 1982. And the reforms were just starting, and he spoke passionately. His name was Sam Ho, Professor Sam Ho. And I always thought it was exotic because he would fly off to China, and I didn't know what was going on, but he was so fascinated. He was talking about agricultural reform, and that got me interested. Wonder what it's like to work there. I wonder what it would be like to visit there. So that, I think, is what he got me interested.
You must have visited China for many times already. So when's the first time you have been over there?
It took me quite a while. It was 1998. It was when I was living in Korea, and we went for a family holiday to Beijing. And we went for a week, and it was wonderful. And then ever since then, we would always go once a year. I didn't know I would live in China eventually, but I just thought there's so much interesting history that I thought it would be fun to start to see it. So we would pick off cities, if you will, Xi'an, Shanghai, Hangzhou. You're just seeing the different, for tourists in a way, but just to see it, that we loved it.
Of course. So you mentioned that you're actually living in China for some time. So when was that?
That was about 2004 to 2009, for about 6 years. And I lived in Shanghai. And I basically was leading McKinsey's Asia practice, and we thought it would be good to be based on the mainland to do that, because that's, true Asia. And so I lived basically all over Shanghai, and then had a chance again too when we were living there that we could do a lot more weekends and breaks into the more remote parts of China.
But I guess during that time you probably have been experienced lots of exciting, like delicious food and drinks in China.
Yeah.
So do you have anything in particular you really enjoy?
Well, yeah, I'd say my jasmine tea is just a favorite. That it settles me whenever I have it anywhere. So I love that, and I love duck. That's one of my favorite ones. Sometimes the soup dumplings is another one that I like. Noodles. There's many. I love the food in the West. When you head out to Xinjiang and you're having the mutton broth soup with noodles in it and so forth. I mean, there's so many Szechuan food. I can't. It's hard to pick one, but probably duck would be the one as a food that I sort of think of.
Well, is it like Peking duck or
Peking duck? Yeah,
Peking duck.
Peking
you like
duck.
With the pancake?
Yes. Yeah.
It's very delicious.
And the sauce and everything.
Of course,
yeah.
But obviously, we know that you have a very strong interest in supporting universities worldwide. And you might hear that last year, the Chinese State Council has come out with a new strategy to create more Chinese universities and academic disciplines into world class. So what's your view on this?
I think it's a very important initiative, because I think for a country like China should have a lot of universities in the top 100. Right now, I don't think we have any. We need, I think the U.S. has 75 or 76. So we need the equivalent of Caltech in China. We need the whole range of different programs. And it's going to happen, but I think having that ambition is very important, because at the end of the day, I think it's the human capital that's going to make the biggest difference. And we have the scale. In China, we have the resources, we have the talent, and so I think having a place where you can draw global talent to want to come to really do the leading edge research is a very important ambition. If you do that, so many other good things will happen. So I very much like that.
And I remember you also get very involved with Tsinghua University.
Yeah, I do. I'm very involved there. I love that school. I like other schools too. I'm not just biased towards it, but so much so we do a course there now. We have a McKinsey course at Tsinghua where we do 8 lectures for credit, and we bring a CEO with a McKinsey person to do the course. So it's sort of here it may be a topic like corporate finance or organization or operations, and then you have a CEO, global CEO, who we think is going to be representative of that to talk to the students. And then we're now, this year, we're launching more of a program where we have a Chinese CEO with the McKinsey person doing it, because there's so many excellent Chinese companies that actually, I think, are showing the world how to do some of these new capabilities that we want to do it that way. So I really enjoy that.
Do you think there might be opportunity to maybe expand, that program to not only to, say, top students in Tsinghua University, but other, top Chinese universities?
For sure. In fact, what we're doing now is making it more of an online program, so anyone can be able to get access to it, and then any of the revenue is donated to a charity, right? That's there. I think to Tsinghua, a charity at Tsinghua, but. I think we should do more of that, and I think this is what I think I love about in China. There's such a strong demand for good education, and that's so important. I've often found, if I talk to just regular families on the Maslowian hierarchy of needs, education is actually more important than food. How our kids being educated properly, and I think that's a source of competitive advantage.
That's quite exciting. And when you talk about the China Development Forum, I remember this year when you went to Beijing to give a speech, you talk a lot about the importance of the private sector. So what kind of role do you think the private sector can play to strengthen China's economy in the next 5-10 years?
China's become more and more private sector dominated in terms of the growth and the proportion of the economy, even though the SOEs still play an important role. But I think they play a vital role, because private sector companies, almost by definition, are faster moving. They get more signals from the market as to whether they're doing well or badly, and where they should focus more or less. You have so many people that are analyzing you. You have a price on you that's going up almost and down every day. I'm not saying you should respond every day to what happens, but there's many more indicators. And so I think private sector companies are faster moving. They reallocate resources, and we need to do that in a world that's moving faster. We have to have more of our resources reallocating. We have growth, and we have job growth, we have job reduction. And the more seamless you can make that happen, the better it is for the society. So that's why I think it's important. Also, the SMEs account for a significant part of the job creation in China. A couple of facts I thought were interesting about this. There were 4.3 million companies created in China last year. You think about the scale of that, it's amazing. And then SMEs have created 80% of China's jobs. And I think that's really, it allows people to be entrepreneurial, right? I think that actually bit like the Silk Road, the true entrepreneurs in the world have actually, were in China for many thousands of years. That's why I think even with whether it's Alibaba or Tencent, the e-commerce, what that's done to enable many small businesses to participate in a global system is amazing, let alone what it does for small businesses in other countries. There's a story of a company in the Okanagan, I think I mentioned this in one talk we'd given, where there was a demand for cherries, right? And 40,000 tons of cherries were needed. And this small farm unit in the Okanagan, in the middle of British Columbia, near where I grew up, got this order, right? And they didn't know if it was right or not. But through the internet, that place where these people had never even visited China before were able to participate in that. And that I think is, that was invented in China. That whole idea of once there's a system up, anyone can participate if you've got goods and products. I don't know how they found them in the Okanagan, but that's happened in China, but it's also happening in other parts of the world.
That's great. And I remember, another thing which you are quite passionate about is during one of your recent visits to China, you met the Environmental Protection Minister, Professor Chen Jielin, who was previously the president of Tsinghua University. And you both had a very lengthy discussion on how to support China to build a greener economy. So do you have any advice for China to tackle the top 3 key challenges in building the green economy?
I do. First of all, I think the selection of Minister Chen is a real statement, I think, right there, because I think he is a very competent, like he's technocratically one of the best in the world, and I also think he's long-term. He knows this isn't going to happen overnight, so I think he's been thinking about this very carefully. And I know for sure that it's a top issue for President Xi Jinping, and way before any pollution issues were there, this is something he's been thinking about. So I know it's deep in the system. The things we've been trying to reinforce are threefold. One is, let's make sure that we put in incentives. So this is the carbon pricing. I think it's very important to put in carbon pricing so that we know that there is a cost to pollution for companies that create it, and we all create pollution to some extent, that it's actually priced, and there's then a market for people to be able to, and incentives to use it more efficiently, right, that are there. So I think there has to be some incentives. Carbon pricing is one of them. There's many other incentives as well, but that's the first one. The second is collaboration, because when we think about Beijing, it's not, Beijing's pollution doesn't just come from Beijing, it comes from the regions outside. So how do you get better cooperation in the provinces that are nearby and the cities? And that's not as straightforward as it seems. So how to do that? We've got good examples, because this happened, by the way, in Los Angeles. It happened in Berlin. It also happened in Japan, where Tokyo had big issues because a lot of the pollution was actually not coming from Tokyo. It was coming. So how you get the collaboration right, I think is important. And the third is engaging the public and making things transparent, because the Chinese consumer is a pretty vocal consumer. If they don't not happy, they're going to let you engage them. I mean, I would use that as I think the whole notion, it was Jack Ma again from Alibaba who said, we're moving from a B2C world, like business to consumer to business, a C to B. That sounds like a technical thing, but it's actually quite important, because consumers can actually change a lot. And so I think if you can harness those three areas, let's get the pricing right, i.e. a carbon tax, let's figure out how to get the cooperation model there, and then let's leverage the consumer to kind of raise issues and put pressure in the system, I think you can actually get some change to happen.
That's great. And you probably also noticed that, especially after Brexit, Chinese government has a very, prioritized, collaboration with those 16 Central and Eastern European countries. But that was well before the Brexit, probably since like 2013. And the Chinese president and premier has been visiting those countries on a very frequent, level in the past 1 year. So could you please comment on that?
I think it's very important. In fact, I was in Belgrade the day before the president came, and then I was in Uzbekistan about a week after he came. I saw a photo of him and because he visited some of the shops, just local people to say hello. I think to me, this is part of looking at regional economic communities is very important, and in Central Europe, that's actually quite a vibrant community. So this 16+1 notion of getting scale makes it easier for people to be able to build businesses, and so I think those initiatives are very important, and it fits too with the One Belt One Road initiatives that's there as well. So I think that there's many such programs that China is part of, and because it creates, there's the Shanghai, what was established in Shanghai with Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Russia, and so a number of other countries. I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but that's a pretty important group as well. So any places we get cooperation like that creates markets for people. So I think the fact China's involved in many of these and has instigated many of these is important, because it creates scale, and it allows a small Serbian manufacturer to be part of a broader marketplace, or a Hungarian company to be part of a broader marketplace, which they otherwise wouldn't be able to do.
One of the innovations I think Premier Li Keqiang did recently is to get all the 6 leaders from major international financial institutions together, try to figure out where the world economy should go. So what's your outlook about the global economy?
Well, again, it's very volatile times. It's one of the toughest times we've had in a while because we have more geopolitics than we've had before. We've got terrorism, we've got a lot of issues. That said, I'm optimistic because at the end of the day, you have urbanization that's going on, not only in China, which is a big source of growth as people move from rural areas to cities, but in other parts of Asia, in India and in Indonesia, Africa. And that's just like gravity going to create growth opportunities. And what we have to do is make sure we make it easy for people to create businesses and create jobs and be able to buy and make sure they're included in the financial system to be able to participate. And if that happens, I think it could be very good. So I think we should just look at this time as an opportunity because we have these underlying positive forces. So let's try and put away the geopolitics and get that moving. And as I said before, I would love us to have over 5% growth globally. I think we should aim for that. And I think we need cooperation. One country can't do it. China can't be the engine for the world. The US can't be the engine. We need multiple engines. And these multilaterals, like Premier Li has brought, need to, I think also, we have to think about this new time and how people work together to make it easier for people to create businesses and opportunities, to ensure we're training the people properly to do it, and we have the right kind of safety nets for all of the volatility.
We know that you have been, named as one of the most popular and respected CEOs in the United States by Glassdoor. So what are your top 3, achievements that you are most proud of in your life?
Probably would say my children is first. And then I would say being able to become a partner in McKinsey. It took a long time. I had many, I had many problems, but that was and I think the third is I've lived, I guess I'd say, in 5 different cultures, and I've loved every one of them. I grew up in Uganda, then I spent time in Canada, then Korea, then China, then New York, London. So I think that's it's not straightforward to do that, but I love it, and I'm proud that I like that. If I like that, because I think we need to do more of that and learn more from the many amazing cultures we have around. So those would be the things.
Thank you so much. You're brilliant as always.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you.